I would say it's not the sentiment, but understand the customer in its entirety in order to be able to make a decision. That's the part that we just could not do by hand or by individual humans because they cannot see and study every customer. But now with AI, we can study every customer and their entire journey and then deliver a personalized experience. Let's get this in the podcast. I'm eating my lunch. Welcome. Thank you for having me on the show. Is this my podcast or your podcast?
I mean, could be your podcast by the end of it. Let's see. We'll try to position it for an acquisition.
I'm just saying, I usually forget, I'm like, welcome Hassan to the show, to the American Dream podcast.
You know what? I actually think that's a great intro for the show. Maybe we can edit that in.
Yeah, please, leave it in.
Awesome, cool. With that said, okay, let's jump right in. Welcome back to the show, listener. We are super excited to have you here again, and I'm even more excited for our guest today. So usually when I prepare for these podcasts, someone has done one impressive thing. So I'll just look at what that one impressive thing is, and I'll come on the show and I'll introduce them with that one impressive thing that they've done. But today's guest, Elias Torres, has done so many impressive things that I had to write all these things down and try to memorize them before I came on this podcast. So Elias, I'm going to do my best to make sure I cover all the bases here. But if I miss something, please do correct me. So Elias did computer science from Harvard. He worked at IBM for a decade. He founded Performable, which was acquired by HubSpot. He spent a few years at HubSpot and really helped them scale their engineering team as the VP of engineering. He then went on to found Drift, which was recently acquired for over $1 billion. Now he's the founder and CEO of Agency AI, which is an AI agent for B2B customer success. Whew, okay, I think I need to catch a breath there. Elias, do you think that does you justice, or have I missed something there?
It doesn't matter. It's fine. It's good enough. Ship it.
Cool.
Get shit done.
That's good enough.
So Elias, first question, I guess. Why are you doing a third company? You've done two companies, insane amount of success, financial independence, whatever the world kind of thinks about the level of success it is. What is kind of making you start again?
Because all the companies out there suck. I think that I built so much software as a service, and I think we have not really solved the customer problems. There's just so much software that needs to be rewritten. This is my 5th startup.
Oh, wow.
So I would say, it's Lookery, Performable, HubSpot, Drift, Agency.
Damn.
I think that I'm on a mission to help people build better companies. And I found the focus on customer success, but it's beyond that, right? It's really managing the customers, managing your relationships, helping founders do that. Extremely satisfying and really, really hard, difficult goal to pursue. But it will be satisfying if I accomplish it, right? I'm pretty confident I will.
Ready to integrate speech AI into your apps? Join over 200,000 developers that are using Assembly AI's speech-to-text API to build their voice-driven products. With just a few lines of code, you can transcribe audio with industry-leading accuracy. Visit assemblyai.com/superhuman to claim $50 in free credits and no credit card required.
So Elias, when you were young, under 5, under 10, do you always imagine yourself building companies? What was your dream? When Elias grows up, what are you gonna do?
Dude, I'm glad I wasn't walking around barefoot in my country, at that time, at that age, and so I would not imagine any of this. I had no clue. You know what I mean? This in Nicaragua, growing up, the neighbors would just always be hustling. They'd be like, oh, I wanna buy this used car and I wanna sell it for a little bit more, and just make some money. This is the deal that I'm hustling right now. My mother was a veterinarian. My mother was super highly educated. She worked at a university, but she barely made any money to support us. And so I think that I had no clue. I had no idea that I was gonna, when I came to this country, first time I visited, I had a hot dog at the airport, and I dreamed of having that hot dog again when I went back to Nicaragua. I wanted to come back to this.
This is when you were a kid, or when you came for your undergrad, or?
No. I came when I was 11, 12 years old to visit some of my family in Miami. And I was like, oh my God, I was like, it's just everything in the United States, was, I went back to Nicaragua in 5th grade from visiting here in March of 86 or something. And I remember taking $6 with me and a few quarters. I felt like, holy shit, I'm rich. So that's the level of vision I had at that time.
What changed between Miami and founding your first company? Like, what does this journey back to the US look like? And what are some moments in your life where you feel like the switch just flipped inside your head?
Key moments were stumbling my way to a college, University of South Florida in Tampa. I think that was important. I worked at IBM part-time. The stumbling into IBM as a part-timer during college to an old ancient part of IBM. It was a subsidiary. But what brought me to the North was IBM. So I stayed in IBM for 10 years. And that's where I did the school. And so the thing is that what helped me was the people that I worked with at IBM. They were visionaries, technical visionaries, and they taught me how to think big in terms of technology and how to see the future. Amazing people, amazing projects. I was working also with Tim Berners-Lee on the web. He's a crazy visionary. I think visionaries are extremely important, right? Because we can see things earlier than others, and you start creating a pattern where you're like, you guess you had an idea that something was going to work, and then you see it work, and you're like, oh shit, I should have done it, and then you see it again, and then you see it again, and so and you see technology just repeats itself, just moves maybe onto another platform or into another medium. So that 10 years was great, but then it became the itch to be an entrepreneur. Like, I remember seeing TechCrunch articles in like 2003 and being like, oh, company raised millions of dollars. And so I had a little moment where it started brewing in me, like, screw IBM. Like, the IBM is, nobody wants to work. Everybody just wants to go home. Nobody cares. And I'm just too intense and too passionate. And so that forced me to go and take the big risk to go into the startup. So that's kind of like the jumps. And that I met David, and David was the first one that gave me the true chance to work at a startup. And we started at Lookery in 2008, the year that the market crashed, the real estate market.
So Elias, before we go into like the startups, like you mentioned two things which are very interesting. If you had moved to the Valley, would have like had significant more success. So what is about the Valley? Like, is that exposure? Because on the IBM side, you obviously got the technical exposure. So it seems like it is maybe about exposure. But love to hear a bit more about the differences from you.
I think it's all about ambition and network. I think the Valley has better network, better exposure, and a lot more money and a lot more talent. But I just think that most people, if they're starting, if you can move to the Valley, it might help you. It might help you. Sometimes the investors are short-sighted in other areas, and they're much more risk takers in the Valley.
So Elias, like you now sell your company to HubSpot for $20 million. Young Elias who took back $6, felt a lot of money. You made most probably some few $1 million now with this acquisition. How does that feel? And how do you kind of like continue pushing? Like, is that, hey, like what's the next level of success you're aiming for at this point?
I'm in the moment always. It's the outcome. When Brian Halligan came and said wanted to buy Performable, and he gives me this sweet line, corny line, cringy line. Let's make a dent in the universe, And I'm like, sure, let's make a dent in the universe, And so that's kind of what we were chasing with HubSpot. But I had no clue what HubSpot was in a way. HubSpot was like super cryptic at the time. It's this like weird company that helps you publish tweets, manages your keywords and has a website on a crappy .NET CMS hosting platform, and it's like, and a website grader. And like, how important is a website? It wasn't clear that what it was going to become or how important it was. I believed that, and I believed his promise that he was going to support and give us take charge of the product organization to David and I, and he did. And so we were able to build something huge, and he was supportive of us building a CRM. We went in looking at CRMs to buy, and then we decided that I was just gonna build it ourselves. Like, we don't need them.
Yeah.
So what are maybe like 3 lessons you learned like building HubSpot, like which you think like are relevant for like founders building today, like which you can share?
We learned one of the biggest things that I learned at HubSpot was recruiting, building the team, the culture. It matters to this day. A lot of the people that are HubSpot are the people that I hired. You know, I left the team about 150 people. Many people are still working there. This is, 15 years later, right? From when it started. And so that was super satisfying. We built the right culture. The other one is customer-centric. When we got there, engineers wouldn't talk to customers, and we were like making everybody, you got to talk to customers. You got to go, if there's a problem, you're responsible to talk to the customer and go and fix it. And then the third one was move fast, right? It's like a lot of people were stuck always at HubSpot before us, where they were like, we can't fix that, we can't rewrite that, it's going to take a long time, and it's like, no. And so when we came in, we were like, no sacred cows, right? It's like, we got to solve for the customer, we got to ship it, we got to fix it. It has to be built. It has to be good. And you can do it. I just believe, I built the confidence that you can say you're going to do it and you can do it.
That's super interesting. I want to pull on a thread from earlier in the conversation. You said what drives you is that you want to build software companies that don't suck. Can you tell us a little bit about what makes software suck and what makes it suck a little bit less?
I think the definition of something that sucks is when you pay for something that it should do something in return. I kind of measure suckiness by how much can the software do on its own without me needing to put in the work. That's going to be the new software rating from now on.
Interesting. And then, going into HubSpot, you talked a little bit about what sort of, made the company a little bit special. When you look back at it, you said, I just want to get a little bit deeper on the specific ways to do it, right? You said no sacred cows, you wanted to focus on the customer, but on a very tangible level, like what does it look to turn a team around and get them to ship faster and get them to ship better? Like, do you have any stories or any sort of, examples in your head on specific things that you did while you were there that helped the team ship better and ship faster?
One of the stories sometimes I share is that when I showed up at HubSpot, we would only send like 50,000 emails per night. It was like, think about it. It was like, it's a feature. You can send emails to your customers. But that was the volume at the time. Not a lot of people were sending campaigns. And so, in fact, HubSpot would use a different company called Exact Target to send email. You guys are too young, Yeah. And so, and so Exact Target, we would pay like a lot of money, $100,000 or something, for HubSpot to use that to send him. And by Thanksgiving, Brian or Mike Volpe, probably the CMO, comes to us and says, we can't use HubSpot to send emails for HubSpot. Fix this. And we're like, holy shit. It's Thanksgiving. I'm in Florida. I'm in Tampa with my family. And it's like, okay. And there's a when? And they're like, well, the contract with Exact Target ends in February next year. And I'm like, we send 50,000 emails a night. And I guess how many the HubSpot marketing department would send an Exact Target? They would send 500,000 in 1 hour. And so we're like, how to build that, right? And so that's something that we taught the team, to say yes and to sign up for really, really big goals. How do we motivate a team to take on such a goal that was unprecedented at that time, that for a small team of 20, 30 people total in the company, maintaining the entire product that was not doing well, to build such a platform, right? And so, but that was one of the bigger systems at scale that I had to build. So it was a lot of fun, but when you're in the trenches with them, then it's like you're a general in the war in the trenches with them. And so like you're in the front lines, they love that, right? And then whoever doesn't love it needs to go. And it's like, goodbye.
So you've like been through a lot of M&As, but your last one was obviously a very massive one, right? Like Vista is also a very well-known private equity fund. What's one thing you wish you had known before entering the process with them that could have made it better or smoother? Or maybe it was amazing and nothing mattered, but anything you have, if you in hindsight think about?
I mean, that was an insane deal. I mean, that happened. Private equity is unbelievable, right? They'll come and they're like, I mean, we could have done it faster if we would have been better, but I mean, we did it in like 3 months.
Oh, wow.
From the first meeting. It's insanity. I think, to be honest, you know what I mean? I think to be honest and to be confident. People like it when you tell them what you have, what you built, and show that transparency, or how you deal with them when you're negotiating terms, right? And I'm a deal maker, right? There's different types of people that are in deals. There's the compromiser, meaning like everything always has to be met in the middle, and like everything needs to be argued. Other people are like, I want to win everything. You know, it's like Chris Voss or something. I'm a person that works through the deal, right? And I'm willing to give things up if you then give things up, right? Because I'm focusing on getting the deal done, right? And so I think honesty, being authentic, being transparent, being responsive, being flexible helped it. A lot of people in the company would be like, Elias, no, we're not going to say yes to that. That doesn't, and it was so many times I would have my lawyers, or I would have my CFO or David or somebody be like, wanted to throw a wrench on something. And it's like, once you decide to do something, you decide to do something. That was the best path. You cannot be like flaking out and be like, well, I don't like what they said about what we're going to do, that they want us to install this afterwards, or we're not going to be able to do this. And I think Vista was extremely consistent in what they said from a negotiation perspective, and how do we work through that. And for example, we agreed to give everybody the same deal of rolling over 50%, and cashing out 50%, and that was from the top to the bottom, right? And so it was, and they were very flexible. So I found them to be great deal makers, very quick. They know what they want, and they behave consistently. It was me. My most important thing was keeping the team focused in doing the work of the due diligence, and it was exhausting, right? Because they would ask a million things, right?
Yeah.
I want data for this. I want data for that. I want this. I want that. I want that. And so it was like, make sure that no one got distracted and we got the job done.
Are you thinking about adding speech AI to your product? Join over 200,000 developers and product leaders that are using Assembly AI's speech-to-text API with industry-leading accuracy and low latency. From podcasts to meetings, Assembly AI delivers fast and reliable transcriptions with just a few lines of code. Head over to assemblyai.com/superhuman to claim $50 in free credits so you can try it for yourself. No credit card required.
I remember, Elias, you were talking about the early days of Drift, and we want to talk about some of the tough moments, because I think we've talked about a lot of positive things, is how hard it is to build a big company. And I think you mentioned, I think maybe at the Flybridge event or before that, how in the first year of Drift, you had like multiple ideas, and every 6 to 8 weeks, you will be like, this is the best idea, we're going to build a company around it. And then 8 weeks in, you're like, hey, this is a bad idea. And you're like shelving it. And you're now coming up with a new idea. Maybe share a bit more about that tough moment of ideation, and how do you guys come out of that this negative flywheel to like a positive outcome?
I guess in the spaces that I know, right, which is B2B, right, maybe B2B MarTech or something like that. I know the customers really well, so I know if something is a problem or not a problem, right? If something is a nice to have or not a nice to have. Like I know all the personas, right? I know an SDR, I know an AE, I know a CMO, I know a demand gen, I know a CRO, I know a CEO, I know a head of success, a CSM, a support person. I know everything, right? I know them all. And so like I can tell you right away if you come and say, I have this pain, I want to solve this, and I'm going to be like, well, that's not really a big problem. People don't need that, right? But it's something that you have to develop over time. And so what we did at Drift is that we tried many ideas. In fact, one of our apps was an app that you can take a picture and you can draw on it and then share it. It was
Scribd or something?
it's something like that. It's something like that. And so, but it was one of the early ones. So he kind of wanted to do that for mobile, and we're like making this thing up, and we're like, that was one of our ideas for the board. We had raised $15 million, and it was a thing called Drift Annotate. And because it was like, it's just so silly, right? And so we made some shit up, which a lot of entrepreneurs do, right? They'll be like, I have this great idea. And then I look at them and I'd be like, no, that's not good. But we went through that delusional times, right, where we were just every day thinking we would start something and we would do something. And our investors, Izar and Larry Bond, CRV and GC, they were patient with us. And they were like, you guys keep doing this. They must have been laughing. They were like, these guys are delusional. But they kept supporting us and say, you keep trying things until you find the one that sticks. And so they were like appreciative of us trying different things and coming back the next quarter, the next board meeting or the next month and be like, yeah, that was stupid, And they said, just go find the biggest thing you can possibly find. Until we went back to the first principles and what we knew, which was really people needed to make sales, people needed to talk to customers, and there was a big problem on the website, and you needed to scale, very low conversion. And so when we saw that, then we just hit the ground running, and 2 years later, and we built it, right?
I want to switch the conversation a little bit towards AI and your current company, agency. What is the big problem you've identified for customer success that you think agency can solve?
Agency can solve everything. But agency from the AI perspective, I spent a year consulting for OpenAI customers. I was a dev shop for a year. And so I got to be hands-on with LLMs, building solutions for Ticketmaster, NBA, Red Bull, Klaviyo, many other companies, nonprofits too, and got to learn a lot. And so that's kind of like the way I went about it. I just wanted to be hands-on. A lot of people are talking so much crap about what LLM can do or not, or just repeat what Twitter says or something. But I got to play with it. And as an engineer, I was like, yep, this is super powerful. And so that's kind of what inspired me. And then say like, okay, there's a big disconnect in how we focus so much on sales and not on customer success, on the retention. And there's so many problems in every area. Like you have the high touch customers, and then you have usually like the touchless or digital only customer segments that we just abandon, and we don't give any care or treatment because we don't have any way of doing that today. And so that's like the biggest problem today in the world. If you have a large customer base, besides sending them a few emails when something happens, there's no way you can guide and improve the health of those customers. I would say it's not the sentiment, but understand the customer in its entirety in order to be able to make a decision. That's the part that we just could not do by hand or by individual humans because they cannot see and study every customer. But now with AI, we can study every customer and their entire journey and then deliver a personalized experience.
Amazing. Just a little bit more of a fundamental question around AI. You've been through a bunch of tech waves right now. So Web 1, Web 2. I don't know how much you might have touched crypto or not, but AI is like the big thing now.
No crypto.
No crypto. Okay, good. Super legit. So just starting about AI is, how different is this from everything that came before it? And what do you think makes it special?
I've been an engineer for 30 years, right? I was in university in 95 using email, right? And so first Netscape browser, I touched Mosaic. So I think I've seen almost the whole internet. I wasn't sending emails through the ARPANET in the 80s, but I'm old enough to have caught the entire web, right? And so the web is fascinating from a communication protocol. So that's one of the most valuable things. That was the most powerful thing that we had from computers, is the ability to communicate, whether we be machines or humans. But besides communications, we were not doing much as computers. We were really, really, really basic, right? And we're just more than anything else, a remote storage, right, of pictures or text, numbers, videos, right? It is not a lot was going on, in my opinion, before LLMs. Everything that ever customers always asked me to do would be like, can you solve me? Can you build this for me? And I would be like, yes, I can upload all this to the cloud and you can access it from anywhere and you can modify it and I can send some email. And that's what I meant by software sucked, right? And so now with the advent of neural networks and deep learning, it's, to me, it's still so unbelievable, right? Like I have here the book, right? And I'm like, weights and biases, you create these layers, you decompose the picture, you iterate so it can classify any data that you train it, and you can predict which picture it is, right? You know, like these are men with beards and these are men without beards. I'm gonna give you 10,000 pictures, create a network of, 3 layers, different nodes into it, and then be like, just from that data alone, and then I'm going to give you another picture. Tell me with what probability that this person has a beard or not a beard, right? And I could have not done that, before a neural net. It was crazy if you had asked me to do that.
One question I was thinking, Elias, which is, let's say if like Drift acquisition had not happened, maybe like let's say Drift failed, would you be building something like agency?
I don't know. It's a really good question. In some ways, I would be doing it because there was times where it did cross my mind. What if Drift goes to zero, right? Like if the sale doesn't go and then we're not able to raise, all these other companies are raising at 4 or 5 billion with the same revenue as me. Maybe I would have been back in the saddle with a lot of pressure. And now the pressure is gone financially. And so the pressure now is me as CEO building something great and beating the competition. There's just so many people claiming that they do stuff all the time, that they're working in the same space or whatever. But building a true company with great customers and great people is no easy feat. And that's my new success bar, right? Can I build something bigger and better than Drift and than HubSpot, but taking my own time at my own pace? It's like it's my own game now. It's not like how fast I get to 100 million or how fast I get to this number. Again, I don't really care about the numbers. I care of like how great of a product it is that doesn't suck, right?
You're truly in a driver's seat now.
Yeah. And so it's really fun, and it's a different kind of pressure, no pressure.
Yeah. I'm going to introduce you to the guy who was David for me for my first company. He's built like multiple
Hassan,
companies.
I'm busy. I don't have time for me.
No. That guy's a billionaire as well, like ex-CTO of Yahoo, built like multiple companies. And he just like he's 66 years old, and his energy levels, sometimes I felt was like, I was like slower than him. And I'm like, you should like, when you're in the Valley next, you should have like lunch with him. Because you will just find like, he's also like you, like I message him, he's like, why do I need to get on this call? What's like one reason? Otherwise, he just doesn't do calls, doesn't meet people.
No, but let's troubleshoot this right on the podcast, right?
Yeah.
Why do I need to meet him? Am I here looking for friends? Am I like, I need friends?
Wouldn't you like actually like so won't you want similar peers like who are like, similar levels at you, and like 5 to 10 people who are like you can kind of bounce ideas, or no?
Right, but I have peers. I have people that are above me that are in many different ways, right? And so like, but the thing I'm realizing is that in some ways I don't need peers anymore. I know what I need to do. I love your friend. I will respect them. I will like him. Great. But now that creates a new thing in my brain of like, oh, let me ping him again. Let me connect with him. Is he interested? Do we want? All of that time is wasted. What I'm trying to teach are fundamental principles. The point is that you have to say no. And so because in order to talk to them, you need to also talk to customers and you need to hire people, right? And so everybody needs to be very watchful of their time. and who they spend it with.
So Elias, just to like wrap up, like I have like few questions for rapid fire, which I want to like wrap up with. So you can take 10, 30 seconds to answer them. What are some ideas you would want to see which you don't have time to build yourself?
Robots, AGI, more LLM stuff. I'll take the customer side.
Customer side. Amazing. The biggest misconception about you?
The people that say I'm too intense, but in reality, I'm a nice guy. I'm a teddy bear, but I come across like just fucking swinging all the time. And it's, people always like misjudge me, misinterpret me.
Yeah, I think that.
But you know what? Let's keep it that way. I'm a fucking mean guy.
Awesome. Elias, thank you so much for your time. Like, this is like an amazing episode. I really enjoyed the honest and frank conversation. Hopefully the audience do as well. And thank you so much for taking the time.
No, awesome. Thank you for having me.
Is there anything you'd like to plug?
These guys are saying that they have a huge audience. Let's see what they got. I have a podcast called The American Dream. And spread the word about agency, right? Agency is a company that is going to really transform. The vision is to help you treat each customer like if it was your only customer. And the reality of it is the companies of the future, the entrepreneurs of the future, it's going to be very small teams that will not have the capacity to hire so many people that are facing with the customer, right? Interfacing with it. So you're going to need a company like agency to help you be successful. So please stay on the lookout for us. We're coming.
That's it for today. Thanks for joining us, and please subscribe so you don't miss another episode. Take care. Bye-bye.